Hi everyone, my name is Erin Elizabeth Wamberg. Thank you so much for choosing to be here with me today. Welcome back if you've been here before, and welcome if you're new here. Today we have a full moon in Gemini, so I will be reading the cards in that way in terms of releasing things, letting things go, typical what happens with full moons that are focused on, releasing things and cycles ending and all of that. Okay, I have three groups for you today, group 1, group 2, and group 3. You can pick by the card you can see, by the number, by the sound of my voice, anything that resonates for you. When you're ready, all the timestamps are below, and I will see you at the reading that you chose. Hi everyone, welcome. It's for everyone who picked group number 1. So as a reminder, this is a full moon reading, so I'll be reading the cards in that way in terms of like releasing things and letting things go. Okay, so you all picked the card, Talk to God. So this is always good advice, no matter what's going on in your life, where you're falling on the spectrum, how you're feeling, all of that. Talk to God, in my personal opinion, is always wonderful advice. So I feel like maybe this is just a reminder that sometimes, we can default into, okay, I can handle this, I can do it, I can, we forget that no matter what's going on, God is always there with us, and God is always there to help us and just offer us some comfort and care and connection. And we don't have to like do anything besides ask for help and reach out, and that we can get supported in that way. So I feel like this is like for big problems, for smaller things, for day to day, it shouldn't be, our relationships with God shouldn't be just like this transactional, I'm hurting, so help me. It was like, how can you include God in your day-to-day life, right? Like when you're driving, when something goes good, do you say thank you, or goes good, goes your way, you're happy with how things are going, right? You can never talk to God enough, and God never gets tired of listening. So talk to God. I feel like group 1, just a reminder that maybe if there is an issue or something going on for yourselves, reaching out and doing that is the first thing. And then second of all, if you don't really have something coming up for you that's like super heavy, you can also just, try to ask in terms of, just making it more of a habit. So I'm reading 2 messages, so take it how it resonates, because this is just a general reading, but it could be the one, which is, oh my God, I have this huge problem, and you've been trying to do everything on your own, or like maybe with your mind a little bit too much. Or it could just be that this is guidance for you to incorporate God in your life more on a daily basis with things. Okay, I'm gonna look at your tarot, then I'll look at your oracle cards. Okay, so we have the 2 of Pentacles, and then we have the Knight of Cups. Then we have the Hermit, and then we have the Devil, then we have 3 of Swords, and then we have the Tower. Okay, so this is some pretty heavy energy, group 1. So if this is your reading, if it's not, you can pick one of the other groups. But what I'm getting is there's kind of like a big overhaul of your life. There's a lot of like things that don't feel the best. So I'm going to assume with this Talk to God card, this is a reminder that like, God in what am I trying to say? In the mainstream belief, the popular narrative, right, is that God is this police officer in the sky trying to smite us and watching till we mess up to just be like, boom, 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 like whatever, all this stuff, right? But the truth is, there's a lot of things in this world that are just based on this worldly realm, that are just life on life's terms, or are a result of other people's free will and how they're acting. But as humans, we've been taught to attribute those things to God, when actually like God is very gentle and kind, and God is there to help us get through these harder times, like not to punish us. And also we are very limited in how we understand things in this realm. And so, something that can feel painful or whatever to us might actually not be so. Okay, so I feel like opening this reading, group 1, you have the 2 of Pentacles, the Knight of Cups, and the Hermit. So I feel like there was just maybe this like, what am I going to do? Where am I going to go? What's happening? Like, what am I thinking of? What's going on for me? Like this, like choosing between 2 things, right? Or just like, should I go down this path, or should I go down that path? Or should I do this thing, or should I do that thing, right? And then we have the Knight of Cups, which is like, okay, trusting in my emotional, what I can feel, trusting in like, okay, this is my heart is my guidance here. I asked for stuff. I asked for guidance. I'm going to go. This is what's happening, right? But then it seems like, maybe you didn't get the outcome you wanted, because I see that here very much at the end of your reading, the Devil, the 3 of Swords, and the Tower, right? So these are all not the prettiest, happiest cards of the tarot. Okay, they have their place because that's life, right? But with this. So the Hermit is a reminder. So maybe like that you didn't get the outcome you wanted, and so you're turning inward and you're like, oh, what did I do wrong? But the truth is, like, when we follow God's guidance, it's not so we can guarantee a specific outcome for ourselves, right? That's where we get confused again. We think this is like this transactional relationship of like, okay, I prayed and I meditated and I was good and I did all my things, so now I'm going to get what I want, right? It's not this transactional thing. It's finding soothingness and comfort and safety and that connection with God, and like trusting that like I listen to my intuition, but I'm not powerful enough to control the whole entire world, every single part of reality, right? You are not responsible. And there's like many, many other factors besides just you going on with these things. So it's not just to say like, oh, I did it, I'm the best, I did all this stuff, whatever, right? It's not possible. We can't control every single person that we interact with. We're not in control. There's things in life that happen that aren't in our control, right? So I feel like group one, what I'm really hearing with this talk to God energy is like, don't beat yourself up for, how things turned out, right? This is just like how life goes. This is life on life's terms. And you, again, are not responsible for other people's behavior. So just because you didn't get the outcome you wanted doesn't mean that you didn't listen to your intuition or you can't trust it or like whatever. Sometimes people will say like, well, if I listen to my intuition, then only good things and things I want to have happen will happen to me. That sounds nice, but it's not true at all. We live in a world that we're not in control. So with these cards, I feel like the Devil, Three of Swords, and the Tower, I feel like maybe, you feel like you got played or there was a situation that like hurt your heart. And like this devil energy is just reminding me that like whether you believe in the devil or not, right? There are people who are acting from their own free will that isn't necessarily the best behavior or with the most integrity. And those things, again, you do not, you're not responsible for that. You're not responsible for people's own free will, right? If you believe you have free will and you're acting with integrity, then you have to believe when other people act out of their integrity, like they're acting from their own free will too. And same things for ourselves. When we don't act in the best way, it's because that's our own free will choice. Like, we should be better and all that, but like we chose to do that based on certain things going on, right? And then this Three of Swords, I think, is about having a heartbreak. It's about, just really, really feeling like the pain of life on life's terms and how many things don't go our way. But what I am hearing with this Tower card is like, we can get so focused on, just right now in the smaller picture and all this, and it has to be like this, and it has to do this, and it has to whatever, right? As humans, but we have to remember that like God sees the bigger picture, and there are so many things in life that like if we just zoom out a little bit, we can see that so many things in life like just have to happen so all this stuff can clear out so new stuff can come in. Because when we say like I want something new, I want a new life, I want whatever, like we forget that there has to be space for that to come in to our lives in this way. So I feel like with this Tower card, if you're going through a hard time, if you're going through heartbreak, really, really lean on God to help nourish you and get you through this. And then also like really lean into this energy of like, can I trust the process? Can I have faith in the process? Can I believe that something is going to come together for me? Anything that's lost is going to come back tenfold. This isn't like coming from a place of harming you. And even though it can be very uncomfortable in the moment and we can't see why all these things are happening, right? If you have faith in the process, then eventually the dots are connected for us in ways that we can't connect for ourselves. And again, I know I'm not trying to be, crass here because it's easier said than done. I know I've gone through that process many times in my life. So if you're in it, I just want to say, just go one day at a time, do one thing at a time. Things will move and change and they will snowball, even if it's at a pace that is way, way slower than we would like it to be. Okay, let's look at your oracle cards. Okay, so yes, this is exactly what I'm talking about. So we have cracked open, rock bottom, surrender to the alchemy of life. So again, when it feels like, I just heard that saying, probably heard it, when, I'm going to butcher it. Hold on. Sometimes you're a seed, and when you think you've been buried, you've actually been planted, right? So like sometimes we have to get to this really, really low place to then be like, okay, now I can rebuild again. Everything can start over. I have like a fresh, clean slate. Everything has been wiped away, right? So surrender to the alchemy of life, right? Things are always changing. We are not in control. We can't control everything. And so it's important for us to remember that. And it's important for us to remember that like, okay, we can say like, you're not in control of everything, but what you are in control of is like, God put me where he put me. These things are going on, how they're going on. Life is on life's terms. So how am I going to react to that and respond to that? And what am I going to do with that? That's more of what we're in control of than like preventing all these things from happening. Obviously, we can do certain things, but rock bottom is unavoidable in life. So don't think there's anything wrong with you if you are at this place where you have had to like rearrange your life and do all these things, because that's more of a test of your character than never having to face any of these difficulties, right? And then like we have the warrior, so that's really beautiful. So again, this is a reminder that sometimes we don't know how strong we are until we have to be. We're not romanticizing it. We're not saying this is amazing, woo, go me, but this is just a reminder that you can, as long as you get through one day at a time, that's all you have to do. And again, the warrior is someone who like you make the path by walking, you figure it out along the way. Your continuation is more of a testament to your strength than like, not having to deal with things that you don't want to deal with. So if you are still here, if that's what's important, tap into that, rely on yourself, balance, what it means to be able to say no to something and do one thing at a time and do all that, but also remembering that like you do have the strength to get through these certain things. And then lastly, we have the card Balanced Friendships with the African Daisy on here. Your friendships work best when there's an equal share of giving and receiving. So I feel like, we talked in the beginning of this Talk to God card of just like letting that be a nourishing energy for you. But I'm hearing also to rely on your friendships. And so maybe you are someone who gives to your friends and, maybe you don't feel like you're in the place where you really can receive or all of that. But this is a reminder that it's important for you to have an equal share of giving and receiving, and have an equal share of, letting yourself be cared for and supported and nourished. It doesn't mean you don't do that for yourself. It doesn't mean you're weak, right? But maybe if you're someone who maybe hasn't had to, or you're not super comfortable relying on support from your friends, this might be a time to practice doing that. Okay, that's everything I have for you. Thank you so much for choosing to be here with me today. If you ever want any more information about me, all of that is linked below. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Hi everyone, welcome. This is for everyone who picked group number 2. So as a reminder, this is a full moon reading. So we will be looking at that energy of releasing things. Okay, so you all picked the card Decorate. So this is really cute because look at this little bird's getting decoration from a fairy. So this could, obviously there's 2 meanings to this. So the first is like actual physical reality decoration, right? So this is like, have you cleaned up your space? You don't have to like do a full overhaul. If you want to, go ahead, God bless, but this is more about like, can you light a candle? Can you put some incense? There's these small things we can do that really transform our spaces and make them feel more homey and more comfortable. If there's like a certain scent we like, or like just getting a small plant, or like, these things that don't cost too much money, that can really feel like we're putting our time and our energy and our care into this, because our physical reality is an extension of our energy, right? That's why like people like to dress a certain way. They like certain styles and designs, right? So the way you decorate your space could be your room, your house, how you dress, your car, anything like that, however it's resonating, remembering like these things are an extension of yourself. And so when you intentionally make things look a certain way, it's a communicating to yourself, like I hear myself, I know what my energy is, I know it feels good to me. So that's the first way. And then the second way is I'm hearing like decorate, your soul with beauty, right? So there's a lot of ways that we go through a lot of things in life and we probably wouldn't choose a lot of them for ourselves, right? But this is just more of saying like, how can I beautify myself? How can I speak with words that are kind and loving? How can I be there for myself? How can I show up with like love and compassion for myself, right? So this decorate energy is really about, what can I do in order to, be more loving and kind to myself, so I don't like, you get to choose how your inside looks like. You get to choose what your heart is like. You get to choose how you act, how you treat people. And so how can you decorate, your soul and your being with gentleness and kindness, with softness? It doesn't mean you're a doormat. You can still have firm boundaries, right? But how can you show up in a way that is like reflective of what's in your heart? Okay, I'm going to look at your tarot cards, then we'll look at your oracle cards. So you guys have the card Strength, then Ace of Swords, then 8 of Swords, Page of Swords, a lot of swords energy, King of Pentacles, and Ace of Cups. So I feel like the main message I'm getting here with you guys in group 2 is like when you decorate, when you tap into that energy, when you are responsible for, when you take like complete personal responsibility and ownership of how you're showing up, even if you don't feel the best, it doesn't mean you have to fake it and be like, I feel amazing, right? But we're not talking about toxic positivity here, but we are talking about in terms of, you know, decorating your heart and your soul and this earth with like the energy you want to see out there. So even if you're not feeling your best, right, you still don't need to be harmful to people or lash out at people, right? You can still learn to control yourself. You can still learn to not be like an emotional tornado when you're going through a hard time, because that does take strength. So I feel like group 2, if there was ever a time to commit to like this new way of being in your heart and soul, this is the way to do it. So the strength energy is really about knowing that we can change, we can be different, we can have a new story. And so I'm really hearing it emotionally, but I feel like if this resonates for physical reality things, like that's fine for you too. But this is really in terms of you know, like knowing that the choice of shifting your daily habits every day is going to equal long-term change in your life. So the strength energy is really about knowing you can do that. It is accessible to you. It is part of you. It is available to you. Because look at this. We have the Ace of Swords, the Eight of Swords, and the Page of Swords. So what I'm really hearing with this is like, you know, okay, maybe you think, okay, this is how I want to be. This is the way I want to change. This is what I want to do differently. This is, you know, whatever, right? All of that energy with this Ace of Swords, because the Ace of Swords is like a new boundary. It's a new way of being, all of that, right? So we think, okay, this is the new things I want to do. This is what's going on for me. This is whatever. But maybe there's still some learned helplessness there with this Eight of Swords of just like, I don't know though if I can do that, or, you know, who am I to do that, or how can I be different, right? So it's just reframing the simple question of like, well, what if I could do that? What if I was allowed to be like that? What if that is really truly who I am in my heart? And just kind of like letting go of some of this, like sometimes the only thing that's making something a pattern in our lives is just because we've practiced it so many times that it's what's familiar. And so again, this is where that strength comes in of just being like, okay, I can be different. I can choose something different. And it starts with shifting, again, our daily habits, right? There's very few times in life, usually if there's like a trauma or like a big something that happens, we can shift overnight. But in general, a lot of ways we change our habits is like through gradual daily changes that add up in our lives. So like kind of letting go of some of this learned helplessness and the storytelling and the, okay, well, who am I to be like that? Well, who are you not to be like that, right? God entrusted you with this like certain connection with yourself and the certain creativity and how you want to be. And so if part of honoring God is really like holding that and trusting that. And then this Page of Swords is really beautiful because we see growth here from the Ace of Swords to the Page of Swords. And so that shows us that like this will get more comfortable over time. This will lead to, it will become more familiar, more regular for you. So it won't feel like a complete like, oh, you know, the imposter syndrome goes away the more you do it and the more comfortable and confident and you accept yourself and you give yourself permission to do these things. So this is just a reminder that, you know, it might feel uncomfortable, but that doesn't mean that you're not moving forward, right? Even if it's like 0.0001% a day, progress is progress. You know, progress is progress, my guy. You're doing it. That's what's going on. We're moving, right? The speed isn't important. The direction is, the persistence is, the consistency is. That's what's important. And then closing your reading, we have the King of Pentacles and the Ace of Cups. So I feel like, again, the more that you commit to like giving yourself permission to be these certain ways, we have this King of Pentacles, which is about, you know, physical reality abundance, is about feeling grounded and like, this is who I am. This is what's important to me. This is what feels good to me. And then that Ace of Cups, which is really about like emotional overflow. So I feel like there is going to be this balance coming in for you when you commit, when you like master the self-discipline, when you do these things that is around like, you know, really feeling grounded and clear and just like, this is who I am, right? When we feel confident, it's because we give ourselves permission to be our full selves and to accept who we really are. Confidence isn't like someone who doesn't feel confident or sure in themselves can have everything look perfect in physical reality and it won't matter. And then you meet people who you're like, wow, whoa, that's surprising they have confidence, which is like, you know, a whole nother video about why that's not a wonderful thing to say, right? But then it's because they've accepted themselves deeply and they love themselves and they nourish that energy within themselves versus like looking for outside things to affirm that. Obviously, of course, outside things help, but it is an energy that starts within ourselves. And then when we have that Ace of Cups, you know, this energy of just like flowing over into the world, this overflow of like, my cup is so filled up, it can go other places. I get to decide where it goes, to who and where and how and in what, right? But there's so much love in my heart that it is overflowing into these other places. So that's really present here for you guys in group 2. So maybe, you know, with this full moon, thinking about what can I let go of? What stories can I let go of? It's like, why can't I do that thing? Why can't I? Why do I think that's impossible for me? Like this, just kind of letting go of some of these limits and these, like, again, stories that we've committed to for so long that we don't even realize, oh, something else could be happening besides that specific story. Okay, and then we'll look at your oracle cards. Look at this. The revolution. Okay, so again, I feel like this is, on and look, there's a full moon on this card. That's so nice. I feel like this is, again, a reminder that, like, it's important for us we have to start the revolution within ourselves. We have to start with, like, a lot of times, if I'm being honest, it starts when we get sick of our own BS, right? When we get sick of our own shit, that's when we're like, okay, it's time for me to do something else. It's time for me to different. It's time for me to whatever, So the revolutionary is for energy, for you to tap inward and just be like, okay, I can be different. I can do something different. I can have a new life. I can have these different things, right? And so just remembering that, like, being brave enough to break the patterns, to break out of the mold, to have a life that feels comfortable for you is more important than how it looks on the outside to other people. So, just remember that if you don't fit in, that's a good sign you're on the right track and doing things that, are best for your soul with all of that. Because then we have peer pressure, primrose flower. Don't let others coerce you into a decision. In your heart what the right choice is. So again, just there's a lot of messaging, especially with this revolutionary, around, like, trusting what's in your heart, trusting how you want to be, and not, like, folding into other people's expectations or things like that for yourself. So just remember that, okay, well, what if you're not harming anyone, and you say, okay, well, in my heart, what feels like the right thing for me? Trust in that, trust in the revolutionary energy, trust in, like, the way your soul wants to show up and be decorated in this world, right? Instead of this fearful energy of, like, oh, who am I to be like that, right? Who are you not? Why not? Why don't you do that for yourself, right? Okay, and then we have the last card, Star Ancestors, Hidden Secrets, Lost Wisdom, Look a Little Deeper. So I think this is just a reminder that I'm assuming if you're watching a tarot reading on YouTube that you believe in there are more than just physical reality in this life, right? So this is saying you're connected to so many things beyond yourself. You're connected to so many things beyond this realm. And it's important for you to tune into that and just recognize, okay, like, what is deeper than just, the surface level things in my life. So there's so many things, there's so many in your own lineage, and, like, these ancient secrets and, like, ancient philosophy, and just, all these things that are so much more than just our own little bubble of life. And you can tap into that, and, maybe that could give you permission to kind of see, like, okay, well, these people were like this, these people broke the mold, so how can I do that? How can I show up in a way that's different and more fulfilling for myself? Okay, that's everything I have for you. Thank you so much for choosing to be here with me today. If you ever want any more information about me, all that is linked below. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Hi, everyone. Welcome. This is for everyone who picked group number 3. So as a reminder, this is a full moon reading. So we'll be reading the cards in that way in terms of, like, releasing things and letting things go. Okay, so you all picked the card Give More. So I feel like 2 messages here with this one. The first is obviously giving more to others, but also giving to ourselves. This little cute card has 2 squirrels on it. So he's giving I was gonna say acorn pie, a pine cone to the other squirrel, right? So this thing is, sometimes we think, oh, I have to give in charity and financially, and right, and that's important, of course, that's one part of giving, right? But we can give so much. Something that's overlooked is just, like, how do I talk to people I interact with on a daily basis? How's my own energy? How am I, like, am I kind, or am I judgmental? Am I snappy? Am I snarky? Am I, all that. It's like the way we can give more that's really, really overlooked is just how we treat people interpersonally in our day-to-day lives. Am I choosing to be kind? Am I choosing to be patient? Am I choosing to, be forgiving? Am I choosing to treat people how I would want to be treated? That's such an overlooked thing that is so helpful in our society, right? So giving more to others can be, again, can be time, can be money, can be charity, can be clothes, can be physical things, which, again, people need that for sure. But I think, what I'm really hearing is, how can I, manage my own energy so I can be more giving in a way that is compassionate and forgiving and less judgmental and less harsh, especially if that's how I want to be seen in this world. Can I offer that first? And the other thing is giving more to ourselves. So we are nearing the end of the year. It's busy, a lot of stuff comes up of, like, end of the Gregorian calendar year, you know, like, oh, what did I do this year? What did I learn? How am I growing? All that stuff, right? So I think giving yourself like a generous perception of yourself, giving yourself like, you know, some kindness and connection, and you know, giving yourself like some, just like some grace and compassion and forgiveness and patience. And sometimes it can be the time of year where we like beat ourselves up because we're like, oh, I didn't do this and this thing, or I only did this and this, right? When it's like, okay, if how can I be compassionate to myself about that? Even if I want to use that to motivate myself to be different in the future, make changes or whatever, right? How can I first give myself some compassionate, loving, kind energy with that as I move forward? So give more definitely does include giving more to yourself, and holding space for that and being gentle and kind, instead of, again, like just completely feeling like, oh, I can only you know, I only have to focus on other people. We do feel fulfilled, and it does fill our hearts when we do give to others, but part of giving to others is, you know, finding that balance of giving more, bottom line, making it less about ourselves, having less of this preoccupation with like the false self, with the ego self, and instead focusing more on other people. Okay, I'm going to look at your tarot, then we'll look at your oracle cards. So we have the 10 of Cups. I love that card. Queen of Pentacles, Ace of Wands, Hanged Man, Knight of Wands, and then the 4 of Cups. Okay, so kind of what I'm hearing for you guys in group 3 is, I don't know why end of the year stuff is coming up for you guys, but it is. So if this is not your group, you can pick one of the other groups. But for anyone on this who picked group 3, I feel like don't downplay. What I'm hearing is don't downplay a lot of the things you've done for yourself this year, right? This 10 of Cups is about emotional fulfillment, and then the Queen of Pentacles is about like physical reality, abundance, and feeling grounded with those things. So I feel like if you want to look at this full moon in terms of like, what can I let go of? How can I let go of stories that are maybe like demeaning or kind of downplay all the things I've done for myself, right? Just even looking at this and just saying like, how have I grown emotionally in the past year? How have I grown in like my own groundedness in myself and my connection with God, in my community, and, you know, whatever. But just a lot of this energy of giving more, when we talk about like seeing ourselves in a kind way, it's like, how can I take inventory, take stock of myself in a way that is actually reflective of accuracy, and is kind, and is forgiving and loving and patient and all of that. So this 10 of Cups into the Queen of Pentacles is really about, you know, making sure you are showing up in a way that is, you know, don't downplay what you've done. You don't have to be like, you know, turn into this like egotistical jerk off if, you know, that's where you go with it. But you can just tune inward and realize, okay, you know, let me like look at this objectively and not downplay these things I've done, even if they were challenging, even if, you know, whatever. And it doesn't mean, of course, this like ladder of like, I did it, right? You know, life is like all these things, and it's more about how we respond and what we take from a situation, even if it is just more compassion and loving kindness for ourselves and for other people, than, you know, any type of like growth, like up the ladder or up the staircase or anything like that. Okay, then we have the Ace of Wands, Hanged Man, into the Knight of Wands. So this is really beautiful. I feel like I love to see a progression in tarot. Tarot to me is very literal, but especially like this, it's very literal. So this Ace of Wands into the Knight of Wands is obviously about a progression. And so I feel like a progression in terms of like passion, in terms of getting clear about who you are and what you want, in terms of like not downplaying who you are. But this Hanged Man in the middle, you're going to have to let go of some of this learned helplessness to be able to do that. So sometimes we think like, you know, okay, well, who am I to do that? Or who am I? It's like, well, who are you not to do that? You know, why not? Why can't you have a different story? Why can't you do something different? Why do you have to downplay what you've gone through? And again, this give more energy in terms of like seeing yourself like in a positive way here, right? Like, so this Ace of Wands to the Knight of Wands, I feel like is a renewed passion. It's a renewed clarity. It's, you know, this emotional growth that I just got an image of like a baby like bird or turtle or something coming out of a shell, right? So I feel like maybe this year was like a lot of time for you to turn inward and get clear with yourself and just think like, okay, how am I showing up for myself? What do I need? And then this Ace of Wands is like, oh, okay, here's who I really am. Here's the truth of who I am. Here's how I'm connecting to it. Here's how it's working for me, right? And then that blossoms into this beautiful, more confidence with ourselves when it's like, oh yeah, these are the ways I have grown and changed and shown up for myself. But to get there, you have to let go of the story of like, well, this, and this happened to me. And like, okay, not spiritually bypassing. If you've been on my channel before, you know, I do not believe or condone in spiritual bypassing, right? But eventually we get to the point where it's like, okay, I've given this thing the time it needs, and now I'm going to, you know, poke my little head out of the shell. I'm going to take one little step. I'm going to take one little forward. I'm going to do one little thing, right? All of these things together really contribute with that. And then also stop kicking away your blessings. Okay, that's what I'm hearing. So I feel like part of life in general, but especially I feel like the message I'm getting for you guys in group 3 is like, you know, sometimes the reroute or something we didn't want to deal with or something we don't like or something we don't want to do or whatever, that's part of life, and it's not fun, and it's not saying, okay, no problem, like I never have to think about this ever again, right? Like that's not what we're talking about here. But sometimes, you know, we can be so focused and so upset. And so like, again, when I was talking about like, don't spiritually bypass like sadness or grief or loss or like having to do something you didn't necessarily sign up for or agree to do, right? But this 4 of Cups is really about like, there's always, God has always put good in something. So there's always a blessing here. And again, recognizing a blessing doesn't mean we negate or ignore some of the hardships of it, right? So this is really saying like, God is trying to help fill you up. God is trying to give you kindness and lovingness and care and connection to yourself. And so it's going to be up to you to say, okay, how can I accept that into my heart, even if it's not in the form I thought it was going to be in, or not in the way I thought it was going to be in, or not in the, you know, whatever. So this 4 of Cups is really about, can you loosen your resistance to the blessings of life just because maybe you're in a situation or a circumstance that, again, maybe you wouldn't have chosen for yourself, or you're that like super, super excited about. Okay, I'm going to look at your oracle cards. Yeah, so we have weight of the world, boundaries, let it go. It's not yours to carry. I feel like, you know, group 3 of what I'm seeing a lot, what I'm hearing a lot, what's being reinforced with this is like this giving more to yourself, again, giving more compassion to yourself, see yourself in a kind, loving way, see yourself not of just like, you know, this fake ego way of like, I'm the best, like, you know, that's fake ego stuff, right? But just actually this middle ground of like, I'm the best, I'm the worst, but there's a middle ground of like, I went through a hard time and I tried and I showed up and I'm proud of myself. I made a way when there wasn't a way, right? So weight of the world is when, you know, we can take on too much, we can take responsibility for things that aren't our responsibility and blame ourselves and shame ourselves for them. So I obviously love personal responsibility. I think it's important to feel empowered to make those choices and to show up how we feel best for us, right? But sometimes we get in the habit of like weight of the world being like, okay, you know, I'm being too hard on myself. I'm putting the weight of the world and I'm being responsible for all these things I'm not responsible for, right? All of that. So can you, you know, have boundaries are not just around other people, but they're around how am I talking to myself? How am I showing up for myself? How am I being honest about the things that I am and am not responsible for, right? Sometimes we can get those lines really blurred and really confused. So let go of, you know, the weight and the shame of everything. All of that is not yours. Know your part, be responsible for it, but don't take on every single thing in the world. And then we have wise soul, Azalea. Your soul carries ancient wisdom. Please embrace it as you have the knowledge to help those around you. So again, I feel like with this give more and this wise soul thing, you know, a lot of times when we nourish ourselves and we feel better about ourselves, it's easier for us to like offer love, compassion, and support and care to those around us. And that's part of what being a wise soul is, right? Is like being more kind, being more loving, being more compassionate, non-judgmental. And again, like your soul carries ancient wisdom. And that just means, again, like you're not better than anyone, right? Some of the most ancient wisdom is just like, do unto others as you would have them do to you. Be kind, be compassionate, be non-judgmental, right? What are you doing to add like peace into this world with all of that? Then your last card is we have paradox. So I feel like, you know, a lot of things I said in this reading were, okay, this is happening and also this is happening, right? We forget sometimes, especially when we're trying to figure a way out or we're really lost in the middle of something or we don't feel the best, that like, you know, multiple things are true all the time. Multiple things are true at the same time all the time. Multiple things are going on at the same time. So I think you can really tune inward and feel like, you know, what are 2 things that seem like paradoxes but are actually my truth for me? and not, downplaying that or minimizing that or feeling like you have to change just because of that, right? Paradox is about, multiple things being true at the same time for yourself. Okay, that's everything I have for you. Thank you so much for choosing to be here with me today. If you ever want any more information about me, all that is linked below. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a wonderful day.